Welcome to the Emerging History channel. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out more videos like this one. New York City, 1979. During a massive school bus strike, children are transported to their classrooms aboard a repurposed prison bus. This unusual commute was a temporary measure to keep the city's education system running despite the transit shutdown. New York City, 1958. Children embraced the elements playing joyfully in Central Park. During a heavy snowstorm, the iconic park was transformed into a winter wonderland, offering a rare playground of deep drifts and frozen paths. Santiago, 1973. The Chilean government palace, La Moneda, comes under heavy aerial and ground assault during General Pinochet's coup d'etat. This violent transition marked the beginning of a 17-year military dictatorship in Chile. Argentina, 1974. Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet meets with President Juan Perón. During a formal state visit, this diplomatic meeting occurred as both South American nations navigated a period of intense political upheaval and shifting alliances. China, 1937. Chinese soldiers position a Hotchkiss machine gun for anti-aircraft defense during the Second Sino-Japanese War. This desperate struggle for the skies was a vital part of the nation's resistance against the invading forces. USA, 1905. A family gathers for a traditional Christmas celebration surrounding a tree adorned with candles and handmade ornaments. This cozy domestic scene captures the festive spirit of the early 20th century before electric lights. Savoy, 1883. Travelers navigate the narrow and treacherous Cix Passage, high in the French Alps. This rugged mountain path required steady feet and great courage, showcasing the challenges of alpine travel in the 19th century. Los Angeles, 1920s. Patrons at a local alligator farm enjoy a bizarre picnic where they are allowed to mingle freely with the reptiles. This unusual tourist attraction was a popular, if dangerous, fixture of the city's entertainment. Los Angeles, 1927. The massive steel skeleton of City Hall rises above the downtown landscape during construction. This landmark building would eventually become the centerpiece of the city's civic government and an architectural icon. Washington, D.C. 1963. Civil rights leaders lead a massive march from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. This historic event culminated in Dr. King's "I Have a Dream" speech, forever changing the course of American history. Philippines, 1980s. Colonel Gregorio Gringo Honosan poses during his time as a prominent military figure. He played a key role in toppling the Marcos regime before launching his own coup attempts against the new government. Cambodia, 1979. Vietnamese communist troops advanced through the countryside to liberate the nation from the brutal Khmer Rouge regime. This intervention ended the killing fields, but sparked a long and complex regional occupation. Kern County, 1936. A local community barber shop serves as a social hub for migrant families during the Great Depression. These small businesses provided a sense of normalcy and dignity amidst the hardships of the Dust Bowl. Ireland, 1915. Revolutionary Constance Markievicz poses with a Colt revolver, symbolizing her commitment to Irish independence. A politician and suffragist, she would later play a leading role in the historic Easter Rising. Colombia, 1945. A massive crowd gathers outside a radio station in Barranquilla to hear the official news of the war's end. The announcement sparked jubilant celebrations across the nation as global peace was finally declared. Havana, 1959. Jubilant Cuban revolutionaries parade through the city streets atop captured government tanks. This show of force marked the triumph of the revolution and the beginning of Fidel Castro's long leadership. London, 1946. Chamatei Dakota transport aircraft sits in ruins following a crash in the suburb of Ruislip. This post-war aviation accident drew crowds of curious onlookers to the site as recovery efforts began. Leningrad, 1941. A determined group of defenders prepares for the long and brutal siege of their city. Their unwavering spirit was tested by nearly 900 days of starvation and constant bombardment by German forces. Philadelphia, 1904. Dental students at the University of Pennsylvania practiced their craft in a grand sunlit hall. This early medical training facility was at the forefront of dental science at the turn of the century. Detroit, 1910s, a fountain on Washington Avenue is left running during a freeze, creating a spectacular 30-foot icy tower. This natural winter sculpture became a famous local attraction during the city's harsh winters. Wales, 1890. The ancient and mysterious Devil's Bridge spans a deep wooded gorge near Aberystwyth. Legend claimed the devil built the bridge, making it a popular and eerie destination for Victorian-era travelers. Los Angeles, 1926. Federal agents inspect a bootlegger's truck cleverly disguised as a load of lumber-hidden compartments. Like these were a constant challenge for police during the height of the Prohibition era. Nome, 1913. Sled dog teams are meticulously prepared for the start of the Canadian Arctic expedition. These resilient animals were the only way to transport essential supplies and scientists across the vast frozen northern wilderness. Chicago, 1966. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. takes a brief moment of respite to play a game of pool. This rare candid look shows the civil rights leader engaging in a simple leisure activity during his busy stay. USA 1905 performers in Pawnee Bill's Wild West show enact a dramatic recreation of Custer's Last Stand. These popular traveling spectacles brought a sensationalized version of frontier history to audiences across the country. Belgium, 1945. Allied soldiers in winter camouflage use hand-drawn sleds to move supplies through the deep snow of the Ardennes. These efforts were vital for sustaining the front lines during the final stages of the war. Quebec, 1920. An elderly nurse carefully feeds a patient in a quiet hospital room in St. Hyacinthe. In the background, a religious image looks on, reflecting the spiritual foundation of many early healthcare institutions. Cleveland, 1910. Pedestrians and early automobiles navigate the busy intersection of Euclid and Superior Streets. This bustling urban scene captures the rapid growth and commercial energy of the city during the early 20th century. Brazil, 1888. Former slaves in Minas Gerais performed the Congada folk dance to celebrate the legal abolition of slavery. Their vibrant costumes and traditional music honored their African heritage and their hard-won freedom. Yugoslavia 1970 models showcased the latest fashion trends during a stylish runway show. This event highlighted the nation's unique position as a cultural bridge between the East and West during the Cold War. Birmingham, 1938. Firemen in full chemical suits undergo rigorous training to prepare for the possibility of a gas attack. This wartime drill reflected the growing anxiety in Britain as global tensions continued to rise. Finland, 1910. The nation's very first military aircraft sits on a grassy field at the dawn of Finnish aviation history. This simple wood and wire machine marked the humble beginning of the Finnish Air Force. UK, 1942. Flight Lieutenant Ian Smith poses in his RAF uniform during his service as a fighter pilot. Years later, he would lead the breakaway nation of Rhodesia as its controversial prime minister. Say 1930s. Flour mills begin printing decorative patterns on their sacks after learning that families were using them to make clothes. This compassionate design choice helped Depression-era parents provide colorful garments for their children. Moscow, 1964. Foreign tourists explore the sights of the Soviet capital during a period of relative opening. Their presence in Red Square reflected a growing interest in the mysterious life behind the Iron Curtain. Beijing, 1966. Mao Zedong meets with defected Taiwanese leader Li Zongren during a National Day celebration. This symbolic union was broadcast to the nation, representing a major political victory for the Communist Party. Gulf of Mexico, 1937. President Franklin Roosevelt enjoys a quiet fishing trip, finding a rare moment of peace on the water. These excursions provided the president with a vital escape from the stresses of the New Deal. USA, 1925. A massive freighter is loaded with rows of brand new Ford cars for export. This image documents the staggering scale of Americans, industrial production, and the global reach of the automotive revolution. France, 1940. French artillery crews work frantically to load their cannons during the opening stages of the battle for France. Their resistance would soon collapse under the speed of the German blitzkrieg. Belgium, 1944. Combat engineers of the 363rd Regiment share an impromptu Christmas meal near the front lines. They decorated a small tree with empty ration cans, maintaining holiday spirit amidst the winter combat. Europe, 1917. Ghostly figures in gas masks huddle in a muddy trench during the height of the Great War. This haunting image captures the terrifying reality of chemical warfare on the battlefields of the Western Front. San Francisco, 1906. A massive fissure tears through a city street. Following the catastrophic earthquake, the power of the tectonic shift destroyed infrastructure and homes, marking one of the worst disasters in American history. Richmond, 1865. General Robert E. Lee poses at home with his son and an aide shortly after the Confederate surrender. Matthew Brady's portrait captures the weary leader in the final days of the Civil War. India, 1971. General Sam Manekshaw addresses Gorkha soldiers during the conflict with Pakistan. His charismatic leadership was instrumental in India's victory and the subsequent birth of the independent nation of Bangladesh. England, 1974. George Harrison relaxes in the expansive gardens of his Friar Park estate. This peaceful, candid shot shows the former Beatle at home, finding tranquility in the nature he spent years cultivating. Norway, 1941. The massive German battleship Bismarck looms in the fog off the coast of Bergen. This sighting alerted the British Royal Navy, leading to one of the most famous naval chases in history. USA, 1945. German prisoners of war. Watch a grim film presentation documenting the horrors found in Nazi concentration camps. The program was part of the Allied effort to educate prisoners on the regime's crimes. Italy, 1944. French colonial troops guard a group of German prisoners captured on the Gustav Line. The brutal mountain fighting at Castelfort was a vital step in breaking the defensive barriers toward Rome. Moscow, 1944. thousands of captured German prisoners are paraded through the streets of the Soviet capital. This massive display of victory served to bolster public morale after years of defensive and grueling warfare. Berlin, 1945. German refugees carry their few remaining belongings as they flee the ruins of the capital. This mass exodus reflected the total collapse of the Reich and the desperate search for safety. Germany, 1945. A German soldier hangs from a roadside beam with a sign denouncing him as a deserter. In the war's final weeks, fanatical Nazi units executed thousands of their own men for showing defeatism. Russia, 1943. A German soldier rides a motorcycle through the freezing mud of the Eastern Front, bundled in heavy gear and wearing a gas mask for protection. He reflects the harsh reality of winter combat. Russia, 1942. German troops on the road to Stalingrad laugh at a skeleton left behind by the retreating Red Army. This dark moment of humor preceded the catastrophic battle that would eventually destroy their entire army. Ypres, 1918. Dead German soldiers lie scattered in the deep mud following a failed assault during the Lies offensive. This graphic scene highlights the high human cost of the final German spring offensives. Russia, 1941. German tank commanders prepare their panzers for a massive assault during Operation Barbarossa. This initial push into Soviet territory involved the largest invasion force in the history of human warfare. Berkeley, 1969. A helicopter drops a cloud of tear gas over the UC. Berkeley campus during the People's Park protests, Governor Reagan's decision to use aerial gas marked a major escalation in the era's student unrest. USA, 1960. Pioneering computer scientist Grace Hopper works at the massive UNIVAC keyboard. Her groundbreaking work in programming languages and software development laid the essential foundations for the modern digital age. Indianapolis, 1908. A 15-year-old boy pauses from his work at a late-night shoe-shining parlor. Lewis Hines photography captured him working long past 10 p.m., exposing the harsh realities of child labor in America. Antarctica, 1911. A stunning photograph captures the inside of a massive blue ice grotto during the British Antarctic expedition. These ethereal ice formations offered a glimpse into the breathtaking and frozen beauty of the southern continent. Germany, 1945. Liberated American prisoners of war receive urgent medical care at the Berga concentration camp. Half-starved and exhausted, these soldiers survive brutal treatment before being rescued by their fellow countrymen. England, 1944. The battered Handley Page Halifax, nicknamed Friday the 13th, returns to its base after a successful mission. This legendary aircraft survived a record 128 sorties before finally being retired from service. Turkey, 1920. The severed heads of local leaders lie in a public square following a period of ethnic cleansing in Erzurum. This graphic image documents the violent and tragic history of the region during the early 20th century. London, 1960s. Heavyweight champion and enforcer Sonny Liston looms over the notorious Kray twins in a rare group photo. This meeting of sports fame and criminal power captured the gritty intersection of the era's underground. Germany, 1958. Rocket scientist Helmut Grottrup poses for a portrait following his return from working in the Soviet Union. His expertise was vital for both superpowers during the early stages of the global space race. Hawaii 1960s members of a hippie commune share a meal in a lush tropical setting. This communal lifestyle reflected the decades broader counterculture movement, seeking a simpler existence away from modern societal pressures. South Dakota 2026. A modern view of Mount Rushmore shows the incredible scale of the presidential faces carved into the granite. The monument remains a massive feat of engineering and a controversial American landmark. Ethiopia 1905. An Ethiopian priest stands proudly before his traditional stone home in the Tigray region. This image preserves the unique architecture and ancient Christian heritage that has flourished in the highlands for centuries. Cairo 1981. President Anwar Sadat and Vice President Hosni Mubarak survey a military parade. Just moments later, gunmen would open fire, assassinating Sadat in a shocking attack that stunned the entire world. Budapest. 1904, chaos erupts in the Hungarian parliament as opposition representatives and guards engage in a physical brawl. This violent political breakdown reflected the deep tensions and instability within the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Moon 1972. Astronaut Charles Duke leaves a framed photograph of his family on the desolate lunar surface. This personal gesture amidst the vastness of space remains one of the most poignant moments of the Apollo missions. USA 2017. A modern photograph reveals the current state of a famous historical site. The comparison shows how decades of urban development and change have transformed the landscape once captured in grainy black and white film. New Delhi, 1953. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru waves to crowds at Palam Airport as the first leader of independent India. His travels and public appearances were central to building the new nation's international identity. Bangladesh, 1971. Indian military personnel pose with a massive missile during the conflict to liberate East Pakistan. This show of force was a vital part of the campaign that resulted in the birth of the new nation. Quessay 1910's an American Indian man leans against a vintage Indian motorcycle. This striking image blends the traditional heritage of the writer with the cutting-edge mechanical technology of the early 20th century. Rio de Janeiro, 1936. Nazi Party members in the German colony host a massive celebration for International Workers' Day. This unsettling event in Brazil showcased the global reach of the regime's propaganda before the war. Damascus, 1984. Iranian President Ali Khamenei meets with Syrian leader Hafez al-Assad to forge a powerful strategic alliance. This meeting established a regional partnership that would influence Middle Eastern politics for decades to come. Iran, 1979. Supporters of the Islamic Revolution gather in the streets holding portraits of their spiritual and political leaders. This massive uprising led to the fall of the Shah and the birth of the Islamic Republic.